Don't be fooled by the buzzwords. Let's dive on in.
Welcome to a Healthy Control podcast, providing education to create a healthy, balanced lifestyle, empowering you to take control of your health and not let health take control of you.
What's up? Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's face it, in this current day and age, there is more online marketing than ever. And with that, there's more creators, there's more information, and there's more bad information than ever. What we're going to focus on today is 5 buzzword phrases that get thrown out a lot that, when you hear it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But when you actually dive into it, you realize the person who's saying that doesn't actually know what that means, and they're probably just trying to sell you something or gain followers or whatever. So we're going to go over the 5 different buzzwords and phrases. I'm going to tell you what it actually means and then give you a little bit of a takeaway from it as well. But first, let's go to class. All right, in our last lesson, an episode or 2 ago, we talked about calories and macros and how that all works together. I thought it'd be appropriate now to take this and talk about more specific foods and how to make foods work for you. I think really we can break it down into probably 2 categories. We have nutrient-dense foods and we have calorie-dense foods. And they're exactly what they sound like. We have some foods that have a lot of nutrients, and then we have some foods that have a lot of calories. Your nutrient-dense foods are going to be things like vegetables, where you can have a lot of salad, just pure salad, not all the other stuff you put into it, but you can have a lot of vegetables. It's not going to cost you a lot of calories, but it's going to have a lot of nutrients inside of it. And this is fantastic if you're trying to cut weight because it's going to keep you full. If you find in your diet or in your nutrition that you're just hungry all the time, we need to look into more nutrient-dense foods because they're going to keep you full longer. Now, a calorie-dense food is going to be something that doesn't take a lot of volume but has a lot of calories. Think about peanut butter. Imagine you go get a big old scoop of peanut butter and you just eat that for a snack. That right there may cost you between 400 and 600 calories just for a giant scoop of peanut butter. Is that going to keep you full very long? Probably not. That's not a ton of food. But imagine you have that same spoonful and it was just roasted carrots. That's going to cost you maybe 20 calories. So now inherently these calorie-dense foods sound awful. You're just getting way too many calories. You're not going to stay full for very long. Well, if you're trying to bulk up, if you want to gain muscle, you need to be in a calorie surplus, but you're having difficulty being full all the time and feeling just because you're eating too much, then you need to go look at more calorie-dense foods to try to slam more calories into your day. We can also look at this from the opposite perspective. If you're trying to lose weight and you're just hungry all the time, as we said, put more nutrient-dense foods in there, but evaluate what you're eating. Are you eating mostly nutrient-dense foods? Yeah, then you're probably going to be hungry all the time. So it gives you an understanding of why the specific foods that you're choosing either are or are not working towards your goals. A lot of influencers will tell you that you need to eat these foods or these foods are bad for you or whatever dichotomy they want to put onto a single food. And I can tell you right now, foods are not bad. Foods are what fuel our body. We just have to be smart and control the specific foods that we eat, control how much we eat, and make sure that it works towards our goals, not against our goals. Class dismissed. All right, the first buzzword we have today is metabolism. Whether it's to boost your metabolism or prevent a slow metabolism or your metabolism is broken.
You'd be dead, by the way.
Or whatever it is with metabolism, let's talk about what that actually is. So first of all, metabolism, or the way that these people are trying to reference it, is simply how many calories you burn in a day or how much energy you burn in a day. There are 4 main components of your metabolism. That's your BMR, your TEF, your TEE, and your NEAT or NEAT. Your BMR, that's your basal metabolic rate. That's how many calories does it take just to leave the lights on, just to be alive. How many calories? And honestly, this is the biggest portion of your metabolism. And that's about 50 to 70%. This one's probably the most stable day to day, but you can affect this by, if you gain more muscle, that's going to increase your BMR. If you are overweight, that's going to increase your BMR. If you get older, we see BMR decrease a bit, but that's actually more so from loss of muscle mass versus like just aging, which is a huge thing with those going through menopause, but that's a different conversation. So BMR is the vast majority of your metabolism. The next biggest portion, generally, is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, labeled as NEAT, which is essentially fidgeting. It's just all the little movements, or even just like walking to the kitchen. It's all of that little stuff. You may not realize it, but we fidget a lot. Tonight, when you're just sitting around watching TV, take note of anyone around you or yourself and see how much they actually sit still. Maybe their foot is just tapping. We're always doing something. Even as I'm talking right now, my hands are moving. I'm kind of leaning side to side a little bit. Hopefully you can't hear the tapping of the table, but we're always moving. Now, this is probably the biggest variable in that more than anything else, this number can change. And it can change quite a bit too. It can get up to 25 or 30% of your daily calories burned, or it can become much lower. Funny thing is, if you watch people who are highly active and in shape, they're often going to be twitching more. If you see people who are overweight, not very physical, they often actually twitch less. So it's just, I don't know why our bodies do it, but it's just part of our metabolism. The next part is your thermal effect of food. So we actually burn calories just by eating, which is kind of cool, I guess, but it's only 10%. It's not enough to really write home about. But when these social media people will be like, this food will boost your metabolism, this is kind of what they're talking about, is a thermal effect of food. And like I said, it's only 10%. So even if you raise that 10%, you're only raising your whole calories burned by 1%. And if you eat 2,000 calories, that's like 20 extra calories you burned in the day. Like, that's not much at all. 20 calories is actually so little that it's going to make zero difference in your life. Now, there is some other, we'll say, truths behind different foods can affect your metabolism, and that is complex carbs and protein have a higher TEF, or thermal effect of food, as well as eating large meals. On the other side, fats, simple carbs, and smaller meals are going to have a smaller thermal effect of food. Now, let's talk about what I said there with large meals and small meals. If you've been on a diet plan, it's possible they had you eating 5 or 6 meals a day. And the rationale is that it keeps your metabolism burning all day, and it increases your metabolism, and what other phrases they want to use, when in all reality, not really. So what it does is every time we eat, our metabolism will spike a little bit because we're digesting the food. So if you eat 5 times a day, you may increase your metabolism 2 points each time. I don't have any specific numbers, but we're just going to say 2 points. So you eat 5 times a day, there's 10 points that your metabolism was working. Now, if you had 3 big meals, well, now that you might have 3.5 points per meal, which is roughly 10 points at the end of the day from your 3 meals. So with these bigger meals, you get a bigger spike, but then you don't eat for a while, so then it goes back down, versus eating throughout the day, you get little spike, little spike, little spike, little spike. Now, I didn't see any research on the difference between these two, but a calorie is a calorie, and whether the difference in your TEF from 3 versus 6 meals a day is any significant difference to actually make a difference, I personally do not believe so. If there's research out there that shows otherwise, love to see it, but even if it's 50 calories, that's still not going to be enough for your body to accept that, because our overall metabolism has a range. So if you want to lose weight, you need to be in a deficit, and that deficit needs to be at least 150 or so. So if you're only changing by 50, that doesn't quite get you out of that buffer zone. So these foods that are going to boost or ruin your metabolism might be by 5 calories, and it just doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I believe that's one of those you're majoring in the minors, and you're just focusing on all the wrong things. You're putting so much attention into all the wrong things, where if you just made sure you had a well-balanced food plan that hits up all the food groups and stays in a calorie deficit, you're probably going to be just as fine with much less mental stress. Now, the last part of your metabolism, which I think people stress out way too much about, is your thermal effect of exercise, or how many calories you burn working out. That's right, you actually don't burn that much working out. It's only about 5% of your daily calories. Now, I know there's somebody, hopefully right now, it's you, and you're on the treadmill, and it says that you've burned 432 calories from being on this treadmill for the last 45 minutes. Well, no, you probably didn't. Well, you might have burned 432 calories, but that's not all from exercise, because when you start a treadmill, it asks for your age, your weight, and all that stuff, because it's trying to determine what your BMR is. So really, that 432 is your thermal effect of exercise, plus how many calories you burn by just living. And to be honest, those machines are not that accurate, so don't take that into account. And this is where calories in, calories out really screws some people over, honestly, because they'll be like, well, I burned 600 calories working out today. It's like, no, you burned 150, and then you try to eat back 600, so now you overate by 450, and that's why you're gaining weight, because you're just eating way too much. The scale doesn't lie. And with that, let's talk about this. Some people want to burn 300 more calories. They're like, I'll just get in a deficit by burning more and not eating less. It takes a lot of time and effort and mental and physical energy to burn 300 calories purely off exercise. And it doesn't take nearly as much energy, and definitely not any more time, to just eat 300 less calories. So it's completely up to you. You're an adult, presumably, but if it were me, and when it is me, I find it much easier to just eat a little bit less than to try to make up my metabolism by working out that much more. So what's the take home on the metabolism buzzword? When someone says that this food's going to boost your metabolism, first of all, boost it compared to what? Compared to not eating? Technically, yeah, because anytime you eat, you get a little bit of a boost. So I guess they check the box on that one. How long is it going to boost your metabolism for, and by how much? I think the harsh truth of the metabolism buzzword is that we often blame our weight on our metabolism. I've seen this so many times. I can't lose weight because my metabolism's slow. I can't lose weight because my metabolism's broken. I can't lose weight because my metabolism sucks. Now, you may have hypothyroidism, which is a medical condition when your thyroid is producing less, which actually does slow down your metabolism. But for the vast majority of people, it's just that you're eating too much, or you're not burning enough calories. Maybe move a little bit more. But it's not because your metabolism is broken. It's not because your metabolism is asleep. What I despise most about this is that it takes all of the accountability out of your hands and puts it into this metabolism thing. Which, yeah, we've been talking the last 5 minutes. Metabolism is real, don't get me wrong, but you can control your calorie deficit, which is going to control the scale. If you want to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit and not blame your metabolism. All right, let's get into the second buzzword, and that is autophagy. You maybe heard this one, maybe not. If you've listened or seen any intermittent fasting stuff, you've probably heard autophagy. I'm going to assume by now it's probably spreading its way into some other diets as well. We'll just explain it. Autophagy, in the most layman's terms I can use, is the body recycling system of old and damaged cells. Our cells do not live forever, like not even close. They are constantly making new cells, and old cells are dying off or whatever. So our body has the process of autophagy to essentially get rid of those damaged cells. It's completely normal. It's just part of life. It's part of our bodies. If you didn't know about this word, you would never ever think twice about it. And it's just one of the things that happen. Now, if you go into Google and you just search autophagy, you scroll down a little bit, it gives you those like 4 other questions that people are asking. Here are those 4 questions that showed up. How long should you fast for autophagy? Is autophagy good for your body? How do I know if I'm in autophagy? And what are the dangers of autophagy? Now, I just said this is a very natural process of just emptying out the garbage of your body. How silly does it sound to ask the dangers of it or if I'm in autophagy? That's like asking, am I in happiness?
Hey, it's me. So this is the part of the podcast where there's usually a sponsor, and I don't know if you know this, but you are actually our first sponsor. And you can do that by liking and subscribing to the podcast, to YouTube channel, or even both. That would be awesome. I think I've taken up enough of your time. Let's get back to the episode.
Autophagy is not a place that you go or like this setting in your body you have to activate in order for it to happen. Like, it just happens. The reason that it's been prevalent in the fasting community is because fasting will increase your autophagy. But autophagy does increase when we're in a calorie deficit, which oftentimes you do intermittent fasting is going to put you into a calorie deficit. So we see increased autophagy. But it's not one of these like things that you need to search out and try to optimize and increase. Like, it's not like that. It's just your body's garbage system. But autophagy, buzzword. All right, this next set of buzzword/words, oh man, it really gets to me. Let's get into it after the break. Toxins are taking over your body, and you must detox. Detox and cleansing and toxins is probably one of my least favorite buzzwords out there. It just drives me nuts. I remember the other day on YouTube, I saw this ad about this guy's talking about how toxic your poop is, and you have to drink his supplement in order to not have toxic poop. I'll tell you what, my toilet's never melted from the toxins in there, and as far as I know, my stomach and digestive system's still in place from all the toxins in there. And well, our species has been around for a very long time, and I would assume by now, if there was something so toxic in our body that it's going to destroy us, it would have done so by now. Now, don't get me wrong, stomach acid is actually pretty strong and can do some damage, but our bodies are set up in such a way that it's not going to destroy you. And I've never seen any ads on YouTube saying, hey, you need this supplement to make sure the toxins of your stomach don't get to you. Doing a detox or a cleanse, I wish I could think of an analogy on the spot, but it's just so unnecessary. Absolutely unnecessary. What it is most of the time is a water pill. You're eating practically nothing or liquids, and it's just making you go to the bathroom a lot and emptying your system out. You feel good, maybe run down, but you feel good usually because, well, you're not going to fast food 6 days a week and eating candy and junk all the time. Now, I'll tell you what, because you listen to this podcast, I'm going to offer a special discount on my own detox cleanse system product. It's only $200, but I'll actually sell it to you for just $100, and you'll get some celery, some carrots, and a water bottle, and do that for 5 days. Pleasure doing business with you. Because that's essentially all a detox is. I don't know if you know this. If you don't, you're about to. Your liver and your kidneys are by far the strongest detoxers that you'll ever come across, and no supplement can even be close to those. It would be like taking a supplement because it chews your food for you, but you could just use your teeth, which are much better. But what's the real take home with these detoxers? First of all, it's probably a waste of money. Secondly, just maybe eat better, drink some water. And thirdly, and actually seriously, is moderation is so key with everything. It's okay to stop at McDonald's once in a while. Just don't make it half of your meals in a week. It's okay to have ice cream. Again, just don't do it every single night for dinner. Make it a small bowl for dessert. I think people would have much less of a quote unquote need for a detox if they just ate some veggies and some fiber and actually took care of their bodies nutritionally versus relying on my super duper detoxifier 3000 version 2.0, $100 only. Just eat better. All right, number 4 for today. This next buzzword might surprise you, but clean eating. First of all, what is clean eating? Now, I'm sure you're probably going to think of things like whole grains, vegetables, fruits, lean proteins, those type of things, which that's fair. There's nothing wrong calling those clean, I guess. My bigger issue is the dichotomy it creates with quote-unquote dirty or bad foods. And here's why. I like to think of myself as a good person and that I eat relatively healthy. So why, as someone who eats healthy, would I eat something dirty? It immediately creates that tension in your mind of I should not be eating this, therefore I should feel guilty about it, and I need to do more cardio to make up for it, or I need to double my workouts the next day, or blah, 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 blah. I always say that the most sustainable diet for you is the one that you're able to adhere to the best. Whether you adhere best to the keto lifestyle or to paleo or to Mediterranean, whatever it is, that's fine as long as you can sustain it, and that means it works for you. Personally, I like the flexible diet, or if it fits your macros, or that's kind of what I call it, but essentially, as long as I'm under my calorie count and I'm getting, enough protein, enough fiber, it's probably okay. And with that, that means there's not really any dirty foods per se, because anything in moderation can work. I really just don't like when accountability is lifted from you onto something else, whether it's because, like I talked about earlier, your metabolism is broken, or you're just not eating the right foods. Like, no, you can still lose weight only eating pizza. You're just eating too much pizza. I think when people fully grasp the accountability that their actions have on their own weight and their own health and their own longevity, that's when true change happens. Again, it's not because you ate the wrong foods or you're whatever. It's because you ate too much of food. If you only had 3 slices of pizza in a full day, I think that's like 1,200 calories. So let's say 3 slices of pizza and a 2 liter of Coke. That's probably your full day calories. Now, you're going to be starving, and that's not the most well-balanced meal, but in a vacuum, you're not going to gain weight on that day. The other issue I have, which is actually probably the bigger of the two issues with this, is that people use it as an excuse for why they're not losing weight. Well, I've been eating clean for the last 3 months, and the scale keeps going up, so something must be broken. My body's broken, or dieting just doesn't work for me, or whatever excuse they come up with to try to justify what they're doing. Again, that's fine. You ate, quote-unquote, the right foods, but how much of those foods were you eating? If you're still gaining weight, you're still eating too much. That's what it comes down to. It's not the foods, it's your choices. And that's really all I have to say about this buzzword, clean eating. Don't blame the food. Take accountability. And this last buzzword, this one actually kind of goes in line with clean eating and that type of mental philosophy, but a cheat meal. I despise the phrase cheat meal because first and foremost, what are you cheating on? Your diet? Okay. But what if your diet has a cheat meal built in once a month? So now by eating a cheat meal, which inherently means you're cheating on your diet, but your diet calls for a cheat meal, you see how messed up that gets? Like, what? And then this, even more so than clean eating, creates that unhealthy dichotomy of, oh my gosh, I cheated last night. I had pizza, which maybe you actually stayed within your calorie budget, so who gives a crap? But oh my gosh, I cheated because I had pizza. So today I'm going to double up my workouts and not eat to make up for the extra 50 calories I ate, maybe. It also creates a restrictive lifestyle that no longer allows you to be adaptable. Life is not scheduled for most of us. Most of us have things that just pop up. And if our diet's in the way, it doesn't teach you or give you grace to go have dinner with friends, what kind of sustainability is that? I remember once I was working with a client and they wanted, I think it was called ice cream diet. I was like, what the crap is this? And I looked it up, and it's a diet where you eat normal foods, and then you leave about 200 calories left at the end of the day, and you have a small bowl of ice cream. And I was like, first of all, this is the craziest thing to call a diet, but secondly, this is the most relatable thing to call a diet, because this is life. It gives you the grace to still enjoy the foods that you want. Now let's get back to the cheat meal. There is positive psychology behind a cheat meal. And I find myself doing air quotes every time I say cheat meal. But anyways, losing weight, or what most people call dieting, although anything you eat is your diet. But anyways, losing weight is not only psychologically taxing, it's also physiologically taxing. It is taxing on our bodies to be in a calorie deficit. If you as a household did not make enough money each month, you would feel the stress of that trying to pay the bills. Your body feels the stress of not having enough energy come into the system, which is okay, but that's just part of the game we play. So when we do these cheat meals, or what I actually like to call them as refeed meals, we're giving our body a time to breathe. Now, is there a way to do this more often and actually schedule it in? Yeah, there is. You can do what's called a diet break. And diet breaks come in all shapes and sizes and forms. But the two that I will typically run for myself when I'm trying to cut some weight, number one, I will do 5 days of dieting, 2 days of diet breaks. Generally, at least 2 of those diet days are more intensive. 2 or 3 of those days are mildly intensive, maybe a 200 calorie deficit. And then 2 days are at baseline. And what this does, it still sets me up for half a pound to a pound weight loss per week, which is the rate I'm going for. But it gives me, a lot more freedom on 2 days, which is usually the weekend, to be able to eat. And I don't feel so taxed down. And it's a heck of a lot easier to say, I just have to get through 2 days of dieting. And then these next 2 or 3 days, that's not so bad. And then, hey, look at that, I get to eat again. You can cycle your calories that way. You can just do 5 days of dieting, 2 days of non-dieting or diet breaks. Or what I've also done is 2 weeks of a diet, 1 week of a diet break. 2 weeks diet, 1 week diet break. Now with this, first and foremost, make sure your diet breaks, you're not eating a surplus and just eating back all the deficit that you just had, because you'll go nowhere. Secondly, as you lose weight, your overall calorie requirements are going to go down. So if you start the journey at 200 pounds and a few months later you're at 170, but you're still eating your maintenance days like you're 200, that's now going to be in a surplus. So each time you go on your diet break, you need to reassess what your actual calorie requirements are. So just something to note. Make sure you're doing it with your diet breaks. That's it on this episode of Buzzwords. We have metabolism, all things about that, autophagy, detox, cleanse, and toxins, clean eating, and cheat meals. Hopefully I'll see you next week's episode when we're talking all about the ultimate fitness marker and how to improve it. I'll see you there.
Thank you for listening to a Healthy Control podcast. You can find us at YouTube at A Healthy Control, and make sure to subscribe. You can also reach me at ahealthycontrol@gmail.com with any comments or questions you'd like answered on the show. Reminder, A Healthy Control podcast is for entertainment purposes only and not in lieu of any medical advice. If you have any concerns about your health, please speak to a healthcare provider.